N64 style for this game, hence the low poly character.
Well, this is awkward. Okay, so a bit of context. Literally, the night I finished recording the first devlog, I had the most dangerous thought a game dev could have. Wouldn't it be cool if? Phrase that can drastically balloon development times if you don't know what you're doing. Thought to myself, wouldn't it be cool if the game had a GameCube era art style rather than one based off of the N64? And I really liked the idea. Don't get me wrong, I like the N64 aesthetic, I just don't have nearly as much nostalgia for it as I do for the Wii, which is basically just a Super GameCube with way too much bloom. Plus, I felt there were too many stylistic limitations for me to comfortably work in. To test if it was even feasible to increase fidelity, I decided to model one of the characters in a GameCube style. I chose Percival because he's fairly complex, and he's one of the first characters besides Jess you'll get a good look at. His model didn't seem to take that much longer than doing it at a lower poly count, so I made the choice to upgrade the console aesthetic. In my research, the modeling style changes drastically from game to game. Some games have fairly detailed characters, while others have models even simpler than the ones on the N64. Although even on the simple models, outside of some Mario Kart related edge cases, the models have individually modeled fingers. This is in contrast to the N64 where you'd get a thumb if you're lucky. A majority of the poly count complexity goes to the face. This actually makes a lot of sense because of how much the face moves. The main factor in poly count is how far away the characters are from the camera. At least that's what I think is the defining factor. That's what makes the most sense to me. Since the characters in Reap What You Sow are going to be fairly close to the camera, I'm going for a higher poly count in the 5 to 6K triangle range. Keep in mind this is mainly for characters, and even then, a lot of the heavy lifting will be done by the textures. And speaking of textures, they're pretty much consistent across the models no matter how detailed they are. They all have way more detail than the N64's textures. This leads to models looking far more complex and more detailed than they actually are. The biggest textures I found were 256 by 256. This is in contrast to the 64 by 64 resolution of the N64. For Reap What You Sow, I'm doing a more realistic approach, photo bashing images together instead of drawing the textures from scratch. I'm aiming for something closer to Twilight Princess or Resident Evil 4 with a grittier approach. I find this lends itself to horror really well. Once Percival was finished, I remodeled Jess, who I needed to redo the model for anyway so I could set up customizable textures for each of her limbs. That's why all her limbs are currently pink here as opposed to the 4 unique colors her limbs are supposed to have. I also made her face image sequence based rather than procedurally constructed with math. As much as I liked the fully animatable eyelids and the control it gave me as an animator, I realized that outside of cutscenes you're not going to see your face that much during gameplay. So there's no good reason to have a stupidly complex shader beyond something that's not visible most of the time. However, I still made her pupils animatable because that doesn't seem to impact complexity too much and it looks nice. I also managed to get some work done on the actual game. I went ahead and rebuilt the master control rig I made before to make it fully procedural. I also added a text box to the dialogue and followed this amazing tutorial to turn it into an actual dialogue system. Once I finished the tutorial, I was even able to customize the end product a bit. I went and added a custom delay parameter so I can add some variants to the text boxes, as well as a sound parameter allowing me to customize the little speech blips I plan to add. I am really glad I found this because if I didn't, I'd have to do a bunch of conditional logic that would just slow the game down in order to get all the customizability I want. That's really all I've done. A majority of the time went to the character models and getting this text system set up, so there wasn't that much progress made. But now that I've got that done, the next devlog should have some actual gameplay besides a cube that can talk to the player. If you enjoyed this and want to support this project financially, you can join the Patreon or channel membership if you prefer. Links to both are in the description. There you get access to my videos a day early, exclusive channel in my Discord, as well as your name in the credits. But if you can't, doing all the YouTube things helps a lot as well. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!